This is LaserBolt and welcome to today's video, guys. Today we're going to be talking about legendary loot drop and what should change, what can we actually do to make the game a little bit better. As you guys may already know, we can all agree that the game has a ton of potential on being a very good game in the future. Now, whether that's going to happen or not, that's all going to be based on the developer. But we're here to talk about, for us that are still playing the game and still hanging in there, what can actually happen or what changes could occur to actually make the legendary loots a lot more interesting and more dynamic. Let's go ahead and talk about it. If that sounds like something you're definitely interested, a like would be greatly appreciated. And let's talk about legendary loot changes. So as you guys may already know, if you guys ever caught any of my streams or when we're mostly talking about legendary drops. Some of you guys, I hear your guys' complaint and I hear your guys' frustration, and I understand where it's coming from, because I've been there playing a lot of loot and shooters even before this game came out. I know one of the biggest frustrations out there is not getting the item or weapon you want. Now, there are multiple ways of actually addressing this. There's dedicated loot drops, guaranteed legendaries, or guaranteed target locations to get that legendaries. There are multiple ways of actually addressing it, but one of the main problems I see currently right now with the game is the fact that within the game, there is not 100% chance of getting a legendary every single time you run an expedition. And I believe this is one of the core factors that is kind of holding the game back and kind of leading up to a lot of frustration for a lot of you guys. And there are a couple ways I feel like this could change. And I kind of want to know your guys' opinion on what you think these changes could be, or which ones would you consider to be more helpful. So let's start out with scenario number one, and a change that I would definitely like to see in order to actually make this happen. So I know a lot of you guys are like, man, I did the expedition, I completed a gold and I didn't get a legendary. I've done 10 expeditions and no legendary has dropped. How can we better that, and how can we make that even effective when it comes to the game? Now, I understand that the game has a very limited pool of legendaries, and I understand that that is the reason why you're not always getting a legendary, because if you got a legendary every time you ran a gold clear, everybody would have all the legendaries in the game. So I understand that the theory behind holding back the legendaries from dropping every expedition gold clear. Now, how do you go about changing this so someone feels rewarded when actually completing something? I think there's going to be 2 ways or 3 ways we could actually go about this, and let me explain to you guys my first method right there. I think currently right now the expeditions have a total of 3 different waves of you being able to complete the expedition. You have gold clear, you have bronze clear, and silver clear, right? Those are all based on time. I think if they were to add an additional time limit, if we take a look at the front line, for example, here, we're going to notice that there are a set of 4 different times. I want a 5th time to be added. I would suggest a 5th time to be added. For example, this one's 20, this one's 22, this one's 16, and this is 11. If they were to put a limit of 8, that would be like a epic reward, right? So if they were to put a limit of 8 here, and that would guarantee you a legendary instead of legendary 25% or epic 75%. It would be guaranteed legendary. I think that would incentivize a lot of people not only to work on getting better builds, but it also would incentivize people to actually work on speed runs, because theoretically speaking, Frontline is a very good expedition, and you could finish it under 8 minutes. It's very easily be done with multiple, not only with certain characters, but the majority of the characters could actually finish this within even 6 minutes. But I think in particular, if they were to add something like that, where each expedition would have an additional timer, where that timer would guarantee a legendary drop. It doesn't have to be like multiple legendaries. It can just be like 1 legendary. You're guaranteed 1 legendary if you finish it under that specific time. Only if it's done on CT15. Okay, it has to be CT15. It can't be like no CT14. It can't be no CC13, because I know what you guys are thinking. Sneaky. So it would have to be a CT15 clear, and it would have to be in a short period of time. I think if they were to shorten like different, expeditions, like for example, we take Mountain Outpost here, 1440. If they were to bring this down to 1140 or 1040, I think that is a very viable option. And you would be guaranteeing a legendary drop every single time you do that expedition at that time on CT15. I think that would be very beneficial to the community, because not only, like I said, would it push the envelope for speedruns, but it would also push the envelope for you guys to optimize your gear and make it rewarding when actually completing it. Because what happens now is, like, even if you're able to clear this in 1440, which is a long time, I think a lot of you guys are probably clearing this like 1140 and 12s. You're still not getting that legendary, so it's kind of a bit of a letdown. And when you complete it in gold, you see that 25% legendary drop, but you don't get a legendary, which kind of sucks. So I think if they were to add an additional time and make it an epic one, where it's guaranteed to drop, they could make the number really crazy. You know, maybe they could go through the database and see all the completions and kind of come down with what's the lowest completion and put a number on that. I think that would be a very good incentive way of actually guaranteeing that legendary to drop, and it will help the community not only become more effective with the runs, but also more effective in actually farming for gear. That is idea number one. Now, the other idea that has been brought up, and that's mostly by you guys, is the fact that you guys want to do something with the pods. So the pods right now, if you go to if I go show you my pods, I have 99, a bunch of pods, and I can't really do much with these pods. Now, a lot of you guys have suggested if maybe they were to add a option where Tiago would actually sell a legendary or recycle a legendary every single time. I kind of like that idea, but I don't think this idea is too viable due to the fact that the problem is there's not that many legendaries to actually grab from that pool of database to be able to, have them cycle every week or every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks. I think that's going to be a very difficult sell due to the fact that there are not a lot of legendaries. If this game had like maybe twice the amount of legendaries that it currently has right now, I could probably see that being a thing where he's cycling his inventory and you're able to buy these off, off having pods. But as of right now, I don't see that being a thing. The only thing I could think of that might work on here where he could probably sell one legendary every month is the only way I kind of see this happening. But, one legendary month, I don't know if you guys are going to be extremely happy with that. I think, maybe every 2 weeks you'd probably be happy. So let me know in the comment section down below if you guys like the Tiago idea and you like him having an inventory of legendaries and having these legendaries be cycled every week. Do you guys think it should be every week, every month? Now, keep in mind, please, guys, when you answer this, don't think of yourselves like, I really want legendaries. I want you to think like if you were a developer, there's not that many legendaries. So would it be viable for him to have different legendaries every week? Let me know in the comment section down below. So that is the other thing that has been brought up. I think we could do some other things with pods, but I'll probably have a different video kind of going over that. But I don't think that the pod idea is such a great idea for him to have those for sale. Now, the other suggestion I had was with Eye of the Storm. So as you guys know, I did like the suggestion that the first one I mentioned, guys, for the expeditions, but the other suggestion I have is for the Eye of the Storm. Let's say they don't want to make the expeditions be able to drop, that legendary every single time. I think if they were to make the Eye of the Storm a guaranteed legendary if cleared on gold, I think that would probably be a very, very good incentive for a lot of people to play the Eye of the Storm. Because what happens is, after you complete the Eye of the Storm, there really isn't a big incentive to actually go back and play the Eye of the Storm, apart from just completing it in gold. I think if they were to add an exception where if you complete it on gold, you're guaranteed a legendary, but in addition to that, that legendary will drop at a higher rate than your current equipped weapon. What do I mean by that? So for example, let's take a look at my character. If I go to my character here, as you guys know, I have a 96.3 dead shield. I have a 89 anime. And I have a 79.5 pistol. I think that's the highest it goes. So for example, my dead shield, the highest it goes is 99.4. For this one, it's 99.4. So if I do the Eye of the Storm and I clear it, and for some reason I happen to get an anime and I happen to get a dead shield, I am guaranteed to get not that specific legendary, but I'm guaranteed that if I do get any of those two legendaries to drop, it's going to drop at a higher rate than the current equipped weapon that I have. So I think that would be a big incentive for the Eye of the Storm. I think a lot of people would actually replay the Eye of the Storm. And I feel like these two methods are more effective, like the first one I mentioned with the expeditions and with the Eye of the Storm, are more effective because they will actually incentivize people to not only get better gear, but also better their builds and help them with speedruns. I think that's going to be key in helping the community stay engaged in the game and be active. Because right now, there is really no big incentive when it comes to replaying the Eye of the Storm. And a lot of you guys are feeling a little bit of a letdown when you guys are doing a bunch of expeditions and you're not getting that legendary to drop. So I think if there were some reason where they could either fix the expeditions and where they could guarantee the legendary drop maybe at a different time zone, or that you're able to target, or if they were to focus primarily on Eye of the Storm, and if you get that gold clear, you will be able to get a better weapon. Now, it's going to be a guaranteed legendary, so you don't know what legendary it's going to be, but it's always going to be equal or higher to the legendary that you got. So for example, if I get this helmet right here, I have an 11.3 helmet, but if I do the expedition and I happen to get a helmet, it's always going to be 11.3 if I get a gold clear on Eye of the Storm. So that would be a really good incentive to actually push people to actually, farm the Eye of the Storm and make it viable, so people could say, okay, I want to get to the Eye of the Storm as quickly as I possibly can so I could get the better legendary that I have. Now, if you have let's say you have this, I have this 89, it doesn't mean it's going to drop me a 99.4 when I run it. It just means it'll probably drop me a, 90.4, a 91.2. So that means I have to go back and replay the Eye of the Storm so I actually get another enemy to make it higher. So it gives it a lot of replayability and makes it more enjoyable. So those are the 3 suggestions that I have. One was primarily that you guys had said on the stream to have Thiago sell the legendaries. The other one would be to have the expeditions have a different timer and have that timer guarantee the legendary. And the third option would be to make Eye of the Storm replayable and guarantee a legendary with a high rate. Out of those 3, let me know which one do you guys feel would be best to actually make the game more enjoyable, make it more challenging, give it more of a replayability aspect. Let me know that in the comments section down below. What do you guys think would be the best? I do hope you guys are enjoying our Outriders coverage. If you are, do me a huge favor, guys. Drop a comment, drop a like, but most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Turn on those notifications so you guys won't miss when we go live. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video.